Just getting everything ready here. I seem to be redlining on my audio here. Just got to figure out what's going on. All right, that's a lot better. Sorry about that. So, welcome to the show, everybody. So, normally I pre-record these things, but today I just want to hop on and do this one live. I had something else that I was going to work on tonight, but I think that one can wait. What does this say? What a racket. Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. Like I said, normally I do these things, I pre-record them, but I wanted to hop on and do one live because I wanted to watch the Pierre Poilievre debate in the battle for Battle River Crowfoot. And I really think this is going to be a consequential moment for not only Pierre Poilievre's career, but the Conservative Party as a whole, and indeed the direction of the country. I think that the by-election itself is going to be a real watershed moment for Canada, because if Pierre Poilievre does not secure this one, then the Conservative Party, they're going to have no choice but to pivot and come up with a different strategy for their opposition leader. And I just don't know who that would be at this point. Anybody wants to chime in on the chat and maybe suggest somebody else besides Pierre Poilievre that could lead the Conservative Party to fight Mark Carney? Because I'm not seeing a whole lot of contenders out there. Maybe Andrew Lawton, but yeah, who knows? But I'm trying to keep my eye on the time here because this thing is just about to get going here. But yeah, this is a very strange by-election indeed, because we have the longest ballot committee, which is really attempting to throw a wrench in this whole thing. Now, I love this one from the Pleb Reporter. The ballot in Pierre Poilievre's upcoming by-election has so many names on it now, it has now reached over 7 feet long. The ballot is now the size of NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal. It's going to take forever to count these votes. What a disgrace to democracy. Now, of course, they have changed the rules and people are going to have to write the name of their candidate. So obviously, if you spell Pierre Poilievre wrong, that's going to be a spoiled ballot. Bonnie Critchley, that's a good suggestion. Possibly Andrew Lawton. I don't think Andrew Scheer was a good choice. And his name escapes me right now, but no, Matt Strauss. Matt Strauss, if I could put up anybody in Pierre Poilievre's spot, 100% it would be Matt Strauss. He is the former doctor that basically through COVID, he decided that he was going to quit his medical career and get into politics. And his maiden speech in the House of Commons, if you haven't seen that one, was absolutely gold. But yeah, so we have the longest ballot here, and the list of names is now at over 200. So this thing is obviously a farce, guys. Now, the longest ballot committee, their whole thing is they're trying to say that they are protesting the electoral system in general in Canada and the party system. And that's all well and good. I think that's a fair point, because we obviously have like the three main parties that we have now. Only the two main parties, of course. We have the Liberals and the Conservatives, and the NDP have pretty much ran themselves into obscurity, should we say, with Jagmeet Singh. But yeah, no, it's I can see what they're doing, but the fact that they're only targeting Pierre Poilievre and not Mark Carney is pretty telling, if you ask me. Now, again, I'm just trying to keep my eye on the time here because this thing is supposed to get going shortly, and there seems to be something red on my screen. Breaking. Tsunami watch issued for... Okay. Tsunami watch issued for most of BC after earthquake near Russia. Oh, well, stay safe, everybody out there, I guess. So, yeah, we've got 4 minutes to go until this thing begins. So, yeah, the longest ballot thing is certainly interesting. Doug Bowswell says, Elections Canada's by-election in Battle River Crowfoot confirmed. Elsie Kipp and put her on the ballot. If this lady is the same person, she passed away in February. This is blatant fraud. What is Election Canada's plan? Have they carefully checked each candidate from longest ballot? So, yeah, apparently there is a dead person on this ballot. I wonder if she's going to be debating tonight. Now, Pierre Poilievre is up against 9 other candidates. So is Elsie Joanna Kipp going to be there? This dead lady here? I wonder. So Rowan says, breaking, Elections Canada is captured, requiring electors to write in the name of their preferred candidate. How many will misspell Pierre Poilievre's name? The longest ballot scammers will do anything to obstruct democracy. This has a lawsuit written all over it. Now, I'm not trying to say that the longest ballot committee is the reason that Pierre lost his riding of Carleton. No, I think the real reason there is because they gerrymandered it. But the fact remains, there has to be more than a few ballots that were spoiled simply because of the handling of these long ballots. When you have such a long piece of paper like that, the odds are that something's going to happen to one of them and it gets spoiled. It's too hard to ignore. And the list, I want to go back to this picture here for anybody just tuning in. Like, this is actually what they were going to go with. Until they made it so you had to write in your candidate's name. This is, look at this, guys. This is insanity. It's longer than Shaq here. There's no way that people would, I'm not convinced that, somebody wouldn't make a mistake and the ballot would get spoiled. I just don't see that being a thing that wouldn't happen. And that's a very good point, though, about misspelling Pierre Poilievre's name. Because before I started this show, I make YouTube titles all the time. So, yeah, I have the spelling down. But it's not unreasonable to think that a lot of people don't. So I hope everybody who's planning to vote for Pierre Poilievre writes it down on a little cue card so they know exactly what they're saying. And I'm starting to get a little bit nervous about CTV's live coverage here because it's still saying coming soon. So hopefully they're on the ball there. But thanks for tuning in tonight, everybody. I can't wait to get this show on the road and see what Pierre has to say. I'm going to be very interested to see if he's going to be injecting federal issues into this debate or if it's simply going to be local issues to Battle River Crowfoot, because he has to win over the locals. That's the most important part here. I obviously want to hear him go at Mark Carney because there's no shortage of ammunition there, but he also really has to win over these people. There's no denying that. Because at the end of the day, even conservative voters are going to be, there's probably quite a few of them that aren't too happy that they elected Damien Carrick and he immediately resigned to, give Pierre a seat in the House of Commons. And now this is the safest riding in the country. There literally probably isn't a safer place that you could have had this by-election. It's a conservative stronghold. I think the support for the Freedom Convoy was pretty strong there. And, it's all in all a pretty safe it's a safe bet for him. So what is going on with this coverage? Because it is now 10 o'clock. And I'm not seeing a whole lot of action here from CTV. Maybe what we'll do is try to refresh the page and see what's up. All right. Well, back to Twitter here. This is a major win for voters across Canada. Ballots in the upcoming by-election will now allow you to write in the name of the candidate you support, so you won't have to search through a 7-foot-long list of nearly 200 names. It's comically absurd what they're trying to do here, guys. It's so transparent. They'll stop at nothing to sabotage Pierre Poilievre. Absolutely nothing.
We honor their history, cultures,
and looks like we're getting ready to start the show here.
We are committed to reconciliation and to building a respectful relationship in the spirit of partnership and understanding. On behalf of the Camrose District Chamber of Commerce,
get some
thank you for
volume going
joining
here.
us this evening's by-election candidates forum. My name is Jennifer Fossen, and I'm president of the Camrose District Chamber of Commerce. And it is an honor to be here as we gather together in the spirit of civic engagement and community dialogue. As a nonpartisan advocate for local business and regional prosperity, the Chamber is proud to host tonight's forum. By-elections may not always receive the same attention as a general election, but they are just as critical. They give us, the people of this riding, the opportunity to shape our representation and ensure our voices are heard where decisions are going to be being made. Tonight is about listening, learning, and engaging. It is your opportunity to hear directly from the candidates who are seeking to serve our community, your neighbors, your families, and your businesses in Parliament. Whether your priorities are healthcare,
Wendy Bailey
agriculture,
says,
rural
"Oh,
economic
geez, vote
development,
for your
or
own
small
good
business
instead of a
supports,
party's good."
tonight is the time
Yeah,
to learn
that's
where
reasonable.
each candidate stands. You might ask,
Just out of
why does the Chamber of
curiosity,
Commerce
Wendy, do you
host
live in
events
Battle
like
River
these?
Crowfoot?
Because we believe in nonpartisan education, informing voters without influence or endorsement, informed decision-making, providing tools to help you vote with confidence and with clarity, amplifying the business's voice, ensuring the challenges and the needs of our local economy are a part of the conversation, community connection, encouraging respectful dialogue and broad civic participation, democratic accountability, giving candidates a platform to share their vision and respond directly to your concerns, trusted neutrality, offering a fair and welcoming space where democracy can do its work. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce this evening's moderator, Shauna Feth, President and CEO of the Alberta Chambers of Commerce.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Shauna.
Well, welcome to this Camrose District Chamber of Commerce Federal By-Election Candidates Forum. So as Jennifer said, my name is Shauna Feth, and I will be your moderator for this evening. So this program will give the candidates the opportunity to present their political platforms on issues relating to the federal government. As your moderator, I will keep a close eye on the content of the candidates' presentations. You know, we are all here to give the candidates an opportunity to express their views on these critical platform issues. All presentations will receive specified times with a warning signal when the candidate is running close to the end of their time, and that's being with two big clocks on each side of the stage to pay attention to. And so with that, I'd like to take a moment to familiarize everyone with the rules of order for the forum. These were communicated to participating candidates prior to this evening. So first of all, no signs may be brought in or posted.
It's nice to see a live audience at a debate, eh? You know, we sort of lost that in the U.S. elections with the Biden-Trump debates, so it's nice to actually see a crowd. I'm glad they're doing it this way.
Adjourn at 9:30 promptly as well. So the candidates have been seated alphabetically, as you can tell, and will be at the speaker's table, starting on the right, facing the audience, and we will be introducing them in alphabetical order. Candidates will have 2 minutes to expand on their political platform, and the format of the presentation is at the discretion of the candidates, so it's completely up to them how they use those 2 minutes. The timer will give a 20-second warning, and a bell will ring at the end of the allotted time. No candidate will be allowed more than their allotted time. During the question period, I will read the submitted questions. Each candidate will have a chance to answer in speaking order. The candidate answer order will change in each round. Answers to the question will then be limited to 1 minute to maximize the number that we can ask during the time that we have allotted. We will move to the next question once those wanting to respond have been heard, and so not all candidates are required to respond to each question, but they cannot bank any time for future questions. The question period will be limited to a maximum of up to 100 minutes. Candidates will each have 2 minutes after question period to summarize their platform, and then as moderator, I will have final jurisdiction in all matters. So now a couple of guidelines for attendees. Please be respectful of the candidates presenting their remarks, as well as fellow community members here in attendance. Any disruption that interferes with the candidate's ability to speak may result in time adjustments at my discretion. Individuals causing delays or disruptions will be asked to leave the theater. And please note, for your own awareness, that the emergency exits are located on the left and right side of the theater. So with all of that, please join me in welcoming the candidates for this evening's forum. Welcome, everybody. So, opening remarks. Each of the candidates, as I said, will have 2 minutes to share their opening remarks. The speaking order will be alphabetical based on last name. And so first, I'd like to introduce each of the candidates. We have Grant Abraham, Jonathan Bridges, Bonnie Critchley, Michael Harris, Ashley McDonald, Pierre Poilievre, Darcy Spady, Sarah Spanier, Catherine Swampy, and Jeff Willerton. All right, are you ready to get going, everybody? Okay. With that, I will call on Grant Abram for his 2 minutes opening remarks.
Well, let me just say thank you to the Chamber for this evening. This is desperately what we need in Canada, to have these kinds of conversations. I'm here because I've spent a lifetime watching elections be decided in Thunder Bay, Ontario, and I've watched the West have the raw end of our structure in our Constitution. And I think that what we're really looking at here in Alberta right now is a discussion between what Canada we want to have. If it's the one that has had the West paying for the pandering to Ontario and Quebec, or whether it's one that wants to see an Alberta strong, free, and independent that can actually stand up and make a difference in this world and actually redefine Canada. And so my discussion tonight, my platform, is about a strong and sovereign Alberta and its independence. And I think there's a lot of things in Canada that we're not talking about in relation to the public forum. And I believe that farmers are producers and not polluters. I believe that oil and LNG are a requirement for human prosperity. I believe that reverse racism is racism. I believe the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to humanity. I believe that compelled speech is not a Canadian value.
I like all this so far.
I believe that multiculturalism has failed, and I believe that there are only two sexes. And one of the challenges that we have here tonight is that there's a lot of trust, and I had my trust in the Conservative Party of Canada as well. But we are facing a threat in this nation of post-nationalism. And in this last 10 years, we've had Justin Trudeau commit to Canada being the first post-nation state. We've had a severe undermining foreign interference, and Justin Trudeau has told us that COVID would provide an opportunity for a reset. There has not been one challenge to the...
Off to a great start.
Grant.
I like that guy.
Jonathan Bridges.
Good evening, everybody. Jonathan Bridges with the People's Party of Canada. First and foremost, I am a Christian, and I believe that Canada was founded on Christian values. With the People's Party, we believe that our platform is focused on freedom, fairness, personal accountability, and respect. So with all of that said, we see that there's not a lot of respect given to Alberta. We want to rework the equalization formula to create it to be something that is a hand up to provinces that need it, but doesn't maintain essentially a welfare state going forward. We also want to see Alberta be able to get its products to market with pipelines going across the country and to ports. I think it is absolutely atrocious that we're bringing in foreign oil to a country that has more oil than just about anywhere else on the planet. When it comes to small businesses, mostly what we're trying to do is to start off with paying off the deficit, which then brings lower taxes, which puts more money back in your pockets that you can then give back to your employees, which would create a much more robust economy in this country and bring back what I've seen there. I know there's a strong appetite for separation in Alberta right now. My goal is to bring Canada back to a place where Alberta wants to be. And I do believe that is still possible. However, I will say this, if Alberta does end up separating, I'm staying in Alberta. And yeah, that's me.
Not bad.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie Critchley.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to echo Grant's comments, thanking the Chamber of Commerce for putting this together and allowing us to have this time to discuss things all in one place without any spin or tall tales told. Myself, I am running as an independent. I don't have a party because I firmly believe that party politics are damaging the Canadian politiscape. We are not American. We are not a two-party system. And while I may have run as a centrist with conservative leanings, I firmly believe that the Conservative Party of Canada has lost its way, and I fully intend on standing up for my neighbors. When our previous guy sells us out to let the guy from Ottawa come in, that is not right. I firmly believe that we need somebody here who understands our local issues, who understands the issues of right to repair, who understands that we do need proper oil sands development. Yes, I saw you there. I'm well aware where you are. We do need proper oil sands development. We need proper investment towards our farmers, and we need the federal government to wake up and pay attention outside the western border of Ontario. So that is who I am. And that is what I am here for. I am here to stand up only for my neighbors. My voice, your words. I don't have anything else to say.
I like all of this so far, honestly,
Thank
guys.
you, Bonnie. Michael Harris.
I'm proud to be here representing the Libertarian Party of Canada. And why I'm running in this election is because I am sick and tired of Ottawa taking advantage of Alberta on every level. We have equalization where our money is being taken away from our province and being sent out east, while small towns in this riding barely have enough money to be able to repair the infrastructure, whether that be roads or water development. And we have stuff where we have supply management, where our farmers are being locked out of an industry which represents a majority of this riding. And that also increases the costs of your groceries when you go to the supermarket. We're also dealing with high taxes and high regulations where businesses are struggling to get by. I was in Three Hills the other day, and a couple of businesses told me that they are on the brink of bankruptcy. And if their taxes go up even 1%, they'll be out of business and they'll be leaving this riding. And I'm sick and tired of that. And I also am here championing the idea of self-determination. A lot of people in Alberta are wanting to see a referendum on next year's ballot to see if we want to separate from this country. And I'm here to say that we are here to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ashley McDonald.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ashley McDonald. I'm the Green Party of Canada candidate. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight, and thank you also for the Chamber of Commerce for setting this up. So far, I'm the oddity at the table. I'm not a separatist. I do believe that Alberta is best in Canada. Maybe things aren't great, but we're sure a hell of a lot better off without. All right. Thank you, everybody.
I don't
So
think
ultimately, for me,
everybody
the Green
previous
Party
was
of
a
Canada,
separatist. I think he's off
we
base
believe
here.
that change is possible, but we have to vote for it. We can't keep trusting the same institutions that have been around, doing what they've been doing for the past, 100 plus years. We as a society are at a precipice. We're surrounded by growing authoritarianism in the world. We're surrounded by climate disasters. Like I said, the rise of authoritarianism. Our hospitals are stretched beyond capacity. Our society is at a breaking point in many ways. And I believe that we need to come together as a society and vote for change. Like, we are at a precipice and we have to make a choice. Do we want to go back or do we want to go forward? You know, we may hear a lot of rage farming from certain people, but we're not a party of that. We're a party of ideas, a party of people. We don't want to throw around a slogan. We want ideas from our leaders. We have ideas that we believe are the right ideas. So hopefully I can convince a couple of you to vote for us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre Poilievre.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much to the Chamber. Thank you to the fellow candidates, though I think that there are about 190 of them that are missing. Maybe that's the audience out there. But in all truthfulness, thank you to those who are putting their names forward, and thank you to the great Damien Couric, who has given me the chance to speak for the people of Canada and for Battle River Crowfoot. But most of all, thank you to Battle River Crowfoot, the region that feeds, powers, and protects this country. Feeds through the great ranchers and farmers, powers through the ingenious energy workers, and protects through the brave soldiers at CFB Wainwright. Makes me proud to be an Albertan. Now, in fairness, I'm from Calgary, born and raised, and Calgary's a little ways from Camrose, but there's a lot of shared values across this province and across this country. And my Alberta values taught me about faith, family, and freedom, hard work, helping your neighbors, and those values guided me to fight for the values of this region when I was leader of the party and member of parliament over a couple of decades, that I forced the Liberal government to get rid of their carbon tax. But, which is a local issue in rural communities, forced the debate on developing our resources, slowing down out-of-control immigration, cracking down on drugs and crime. And now I want to take the local issues and provide national leadership to fight against the electric vehicle mandate, because driving a pickup truck is a local issue in the communities across this region. To fight for law-abiding firearms owners, to fight for farmers, and to expand our military. These are local issues that require national leadership, and it would be a privilege to provide.
He sort of has his speech voice on, doesn't he?
Thank
I wish
you,
he'd talk
Pierre.
like a normal person.
Darcy Spady.
Thank you, Shauna. Thanks to Jennifer for the opening speech, and Aaron and Shauna at the Chamber office. You've been very accommodating. I appreciate it. My name is Darcy Spady. I'm from Three Hills, and I don't want to be Prime Minister. I grew up in the Three Hills area. My family has been in the area for many years. I've worked in the energy industry. I went to the University of Alberta and went for engineering degree and have been a petroleum engineer for many years. I've worked in the energy industry in this riding from Wainwright to Morin to Camrose out to Brooks area. Been involved in stimulating, in cementing, in constructing, in doing intervention in wells all about this province, and more recently in the emissions reduction field. My family originally came to the Battle River in about 1905. They wandered in till about 1920. So the Spadies settled the Battle River area between Castor and Alliance. They still live there to this day. I grew up in Three Hills. My wife's family is in the Irma Viking area. Our families are in the agriculture business west of Acme, Three Hills, Linden. So I understand this riding well, and it's been my entire life. I did get elected in 2017 to become the international president of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, which is about 170,000 people. And I got to see what the rest of the world sees about us and our technology. It also made me realize that the people of Battle River Crowfoot need a centrist option. I haven't seen one since about 1978. So I would really love to be your responsible representative in Parliament. I would love to be your member of Parliament and sit on the government benches where I could participate in caucus of the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah Spanier.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Spanier, and I am running as an independent. And one thing that I've heard all of these amazing people do is talk at you. They haven't offered you guys any solutions on what they're going to do. And that's what I want to do for you guys. I am not here to toe party lines. I am here to listen and to actually go get funding where it is needed. We have lost out enormously on the amount of funding because it has not been brought back due to party lines. And I want to bring that back for you guys. I want to help you guys build your small businesses and your agriculture and oil and gas. These are all super important issues here. And I'm listening, and the funding is there. It's just been left there. We have it, we can take it, we don't need to raise taxes to do that. And with me being an independent, I don't answer to any party. I answer to you guys. You guys are my boss, nobody else. There is no middleman here. So you can ensure that when you are speaking to me, we don't have to filter through anybody else. I'm here for you guys. I already have a draft of a bill ready to go to help afford the Affordable Food for All Act, which would lower the price of price gouging, which we are currently seeing through Loblaws and stuff. And I want to ensure that government spending is done appropriately, and we're cutting back on that. And like I said, I want to bring funding back to this area because it's there, and we can grow this small rural community that we all strongly believe in. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine Swampy.
Nanaskama mamotao mau kisi manito. Hi ento temtek anochkiskao. Thank you so much to the Chamber for setting all of this up, and thank you so much to all of my fellow candidates for coming out here and for standing up for you. I know that Damien is in the crowd. I'll have you know I took down 4 of your signs that were still up. You're very welcome. I will not be reporting them as still up. If any of you see any of my signs out there, because there's so many, please take them down after everything's done. Let me know, I'll go get them. But as we all know, we're basically sacrificial lambs when we come out here. It's almost a guaranteed loss. So why are we running? We're running as advocates. We want to be a voice. We want to bring issues that are otherwise ignored by the government. Issues like affordability, budget deficit, economy and jobs, the environment, our health care, our housing, Indigenous relations, our management, or I should say proper management of natural resources, our mental health and addictions, our public safety and crime, taxation, dare I say, Trump, small businesses, and seniors. And I'd also like to bring it to some of my fellow candidates' attention that we are all...
I'm turning this down for a second because I have something in the chat here. Stan Campbell says, sorry, but these independent runners, they really don't have the experience, so I wish them luck, but we need experience to lead the way. 100%. I mean, I got to admit, guys, I'm pulling for Pierre Poilievre here, but some of those first candidates that spoke really made some good points. And they sounded like real people, not professional politicians. So thanks for that, Stan.
For a new candidate.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff Willerton.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jeff Willerton. I'm representing the Christian Heritage Party of Canada. If you remember one line from tonight, I hope you remember this. If you always vote for the lesser of two evils, you'll always have an evil government. Like wrestlers who practice their moves beforehand and go out for a beer after the match, the mainline parties often work together. Brian Mulroney, for instance, signed the Rio Declaration in 1992, leading directly to Justin Trudeau's economy-crushing carbon tax in 2019. It's been said by many that we wouldn't have had one without the other. In 2007, Stephen Harper, along with a certain minister named Pierre Poilievre, signed the United Nations Sustainability Act, leading to Chrystia Freeland declaring a third of Alberta off-limits to development a few years ago. And in 2009, the same Stephen Harper signed what was called the Codex Alimentarius. That strange-sounding beast regarding the labeling of food and drugs paved the way for the Red Team's assault on our natural health products industry in 2023. So one sets up the shot, the other takes it. The cause and effect may at times be years apart, obscuring the connection, but that's how it works when you have two major parties that are wings of the same bird. At other times, their cooperation can be right in your face, like when not a single member of either party raised so much as a finger to stop Bill C-4 in 2021, which threatens you with up to 5 years behind bars if you haven't tell little Johnny that he's a boy. So to be clear, the Tories aren't the solution. They're part of the problem. They always have been, and both they and the Red Team have been working together for decades to land us in this climate change, carbon tax, Gaia-worshipping, freedom of speech, crushing hell in which we find ourselves. How did we get here? By bouncing between the Blue Team and the Red Team for 158 years. How do we get out of this mess? Well, by changing course, obviously, but better parties can't take government without winning their first seat. And in my closing comments, I'll tell you more about what I am convinced is simply the best outside-of-the-box political option in this country, bar none. Thank you and God bless.
Sheriff of YouTube says Battle River better elect Pierre or all this attention will be gone. I agree with you, dude. I agree. Pierre needs to get back into the House of Commons, but you have to admit that this is the most interesting debate I've ever seen in Canada. You have independents talking about real issues. This is fascinating, dude.
So I just wanted to say thank you.
I like him too. Sheriff of YouTube says, I like this candidate. I like him too.
For the forum. Candidates will each have 1 minute to respond to each question. We will move to the next question once those wanting to respond have been heard. Again, I will say candidates are not required to respond, but they cannot bank time for the next question either. So without further ado, let's jump right into the questions. So this first one, we're going to start with you, Grant, on this one. Is on economy and jobs. So many Canadians recall when a single income such as that of a postal worker, assembly line worker, or rig hand was sufficient to support a family. Today, that is increasingly no longer the case. So what specific measures would you propose to meaningfully improve affordability and economic security for everyday Canadians?
I'll tell you what, I think we need to look at immigration because our young people can't get jobs because new immigrants are subsidized in all of the entry-level jobs. Let's start there. Let's start by talking about making sure we don't have flights to Amritsar back and forth because we do have an immigration problem. It is driving up our housing prices. We had a long time Mr. Poilievre telling us that there was no link between demand and supply in our housing and or the immigration issue. We simply have to look at that. I know this question is about the economy, but let's start in terms of where our kids and our grandchildren are in terms of trying to get on the ladder. There are many things that we need to fix. We need to repatriate our industrial base to this country. We need to incentivize entrepreneurship again, and we need to stop the flight of funds out of this country. The problem is that our people are leaving this country because we have deeper problems that we never talk about in this nation, and it's rooted in post-nationalism.
Thank you, Grant. Jonathan.
So fixing the economy mirror a lot of what Grant said. I mean, there is obviously a lot of people coming to this nation, over 1.2 million a year for the last several years. It is crowding out people in the housing market. It is crowding people out of the jobs market. So those are two very big things that contribute to affordability. The other thing the People's Party would see done is lowering taxes. The average Canadian is paying somewhere north of 42% of their paycheck straight to the government. The American Revolution was fought over at 3%. We have got to the point of what I believe is ridiculous with taxes. So with lower taxes, then we'd have more money to go forward. And also, bringing more jobs back to Canada, we need our industry back so that we can shore up our supply chains so we don't have a repeat of what happened during COVID where we couldn't find products to buy even.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
I've never done this sitting down speaking thing well, so I'll stand up. Yes, basing our economy off of immigration numbers, not a good idea. But before we worry about our economy, we need to worry about our government spending. When the federal government is bloated and sending out third-party contracts, such as Veterans Affairs, contracting out care of veterans to Loblaws, we need to deal with it. The bloating has to stop. We need our middle managers to actually leave instead of just cutting the teeth. We also need our MPs to stop spending excessive amounts of money when we have one person who spends more than the next two of your money. Then we can look at cutting our taxes and making our employment that much easier to manage.
Thank you, Bonnie. Michael.
So first and foremost, we need to get rid of the welfare state. Main issues number one is that this government is spending way too much money. We are both in debt and in a deficit at the same time, where we are making no money. At the same time, we are paying the highest amount of taxes that we have ever paid in our entire life. So we need to be lowering the amount that our government is spending. I see all the time where money is being wasted in random projects across the country where they're not actually going towards the services that are needed here in this riding. And to top on to that, after we got the welfare state, we need to get rid of all taxes here in this country, starting at the income tax level, going towards business taxes. Because you pay taxes on everything that you do, whether it be on your paycheck, when you go to the store, driving your car, anything. You are paying taxes, and we want to fight to get rid of as many as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
That was Michael. It's my turn now.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
I feel bad. We got your names turned around on the script, so my apologies, Michael.
That would be Ashley again.
Okay. You have to have one faux pas. It can't be perfect, right? Sorry about that, Ashley.
Just so we're clear, when we go into the ballot box, I'm Ashley MacDonald. Just think of the golden
Of course, the ballot
arches.
will get tossed out if you
It's
spell
close
that
enough
wrong.
to my spelling. It'll work. All right, so basically for me, the Green Party platform believes in a restructuring Canada's resource economy, basically to establish national strategy reserves and critical resources, phase out raw resource exports by prioritizing domestic reserves, processing, and manufacturing. That will in turn create more jobs, create more industry within Canada, take our raw materials out of the hands of foreign governments who can control everything and sell it back to us at a higher cost. Then in addition to that, we are also very firmly against, wanting to end poverty. We do that through a series of measures such as strengthening the Canadian disability benefit, creating programs for families through poverty reduction incentives, as well as the creation of
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
The cause of inflation is government. Cost, yes, it's very simple. Supply and demand. The government is boosting demand and limiting supply. They're boosting demand through out-of-control immigration and money printing that adds more money and people than new products for them to buy. And they're restricting the supply of things by blocking everything from home building to natural resource development. So what's the solution? We need to cut back on immigration. In fact, we need to have negative population growth for the next several years as more people leave than come. We need to slash bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid, corporate welfare, and handouts to fraudulent refugees. And we need to unlock our resources to produce cheap energy and affordable homes. So let's produce more stuff rather than adding more people and more money.
Thank you, Pierre. Darcy.
Thank you. I think one of the reasons I took this position to be the candidate for the Liberals is because I'm impressed with the leader. I come from about a 35-year career in business, and I'm very thankful for it. And I like Mark Carney's government and his approach to leading from a position of experience. He has been the central banker for 2 major economies in the G7. This is significant. And when I see his actions now, I'm impressed. So for me as a farmer, I want commodity prices for my crops to be good, and he is working on that by getting the economy going east to west, as well as unrupturing the foreign markets. Also, as an oil and gas guy, I want my product shipped to Tidewater, and Bill C-5 has already started the movement in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah?
So my big thing on affordability is actually bringing funding back, like I said. We need more support for farmers. There are grants, there's funding out there that I am more than happy to bring back for you guys. I have something called the Affordable Food for All Act bill, which would reduce the cost burden of...
I'm going to agree with Sheriff of YouTube in the chat. He says Darcy would be a cool pub guy, but Mark's boy gets him a fail, 100%.
So you don't have to worry as much about how much your grocery bill is going to cost. I also want to put forth a second bill that would actually limit government spending. The $187.8 million that our government just spent in taxpayer dollars, we need to cut that big time. And I want to be the one to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine?
Who will build an economy that works for the people, not the powerful? The heart of the economy is the working people. When people are feeling this worried about whether they can pay the bills, who is the economy really working for? And things are about to get even tougher. Under the Liberals and Conservatives, the powerful and wealthy keep getting further ahead, and the rest of us keep falling further behind. For them, the economy is about investors and corporations and their profits. And that doesn't work for me. It shouldn't work for you. I'm focused on growth that works for you and your family, where you have a chance to get ahead. Right now, that means a plan to buy Canadian and build Canadian, to fight for every job, including jobs in the public sector. Saving Canadian jobs is so vital, especially considering...
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff?
Thank you for the question. Ladies and gentlemen, the Christian Heritage Party is the only party that I'm aware of that advocates eliminating income taxes and business taxes and replacing them with a consumption tax called the fair tax. That will absolutely leave more money in each of your pockets to make groceries more affordable. I think that was the question, where the question started. Economy, jobs, anyways. So this will stimulate the economy, and it's been said that the first country that goes down this road is the winner, because everybody's going to want to be there and open up their businesses there. I think it would be just a fantastic idea, but that's on the taxation side. But on the spending side, Margaret Thatcher turned England around. Javier Milei has turned Argentina around, first balanced budget in 128 years. There's another government, I don't know its name, down in El Salvador that's turned El Salvador around, believe it or not. It can be done. We can downsize government and balance the budget and make it.
Thank you, Jeff. So the next question, we're going to start with you, Jonathan, just to give you a heads up. So this one's immigration and population growth. So Alberta's population, we've already heard some of this already in some of the answers, but Alberta's population is growing rapidly, raising concerns about pressure on public services, the treatment of newcomers, and the ability of infrastructure to keep pace. Do you support increased immigration, and how would you ensure newcomers are protected and supported while ensuring services can meet the demands of a growing population?
The People's Party's position on immigration at the moment is that we need to actually just press pause. We shouldn't have more people coming to a country that can barely keep our own fed. We have veterans that can't afford a house to live in, can't afford food to eat. It's unconscionable. I do believe that there is a place for true refugees if they need assistance to come in while there is unrest in their home country, but I also believe very strongly that when that unrest is done, they should be going back home. We have a great country, and it's not going to stay that way if we just keep letting absolutely everybody in without any qualification at all. That being said, my family was immigrants once upon a time, and I'm not opposed to controlled immigration.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
Well, I think Jonathan said it best, controlled immigration. It definitely needs to slow down. We are not in a position right now to take care of our own, much less other people. But again, before we can look at immigration and costs, we need to deal with our government bloat before we can deal with immigration. We need to deal with all those middle managers who give immigrants stacks of paper this big when they are doctors, they are the skills we are desperately needing, but our government fails to acknowledge their skills, their education. Yes, we need to slow down immigration. Stopping it entirely is a bad thing. Not acknowledging the skill sets that people bring to continue to deal with our country and the issues we've got is also something that needs to be dealt with. We got to cut the government bloat. Then we can afford to feed everybody.
She's not wrong. I like that take.
Thank you, Bonnie. Michael.
Honestly, I'm going to agree with Bonnie on this because a lot of the times people like to blame immigrants for a lot of problems in this country. And most of the time, you can probably blame the welfare state. A lot of the times, our government is just handing out cash to new people in this country. I think there was a bill that was recently passed in Ontario where our Doug Ford is given around $10 or so billion for hotel development for newer people coming into this country. That is, in my opinion, a complete waste of money. We need to be able to, if people are wanting to move this country, they need to be bringing their own money to come here safely. And I personally believe it should be the decision of Alberta to choose who is coming into this province and who is not. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ashley.
Okay. So for me, immigration is one of Canada's greatest strengths. It brings new skills, energy, ideas, and cultural richnesses to our communities. And at a time when many of our regions are suffering labor shortages and aging populations, immigration can help build a more vibrant, sustainable future for newcomers and longtime residents alike. But immigration must be planned and responsible. The Liberal government made a serious error when they took the advice of McKinsey and Company and set an annual immigration target of 500,000 people with no plan on where these people were going to live, what communities are going to go to, and how we are going to build and adapt these communities to all these newcomers. There was no published targets for temporary residents until just last year. We believe in learning from these mistakes. Immigration targets must be thoughtful, transparent, and aligned with Canada's real capacity and long-term planning for both temporary and permanent immigration. Immigration is great when it's done right.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
I agree, and we did it right for 150 plus years, whether it was the frontier pioneers who came and settled the prairies, or the great Italians and Portuguese who came and built roads and founded families across Canada, or my wife who came as a refugee. Her dad picked fruit in a farm field so that he could pay the rent, and now they're a successful story. But over the last 10 years, the Liberals have adopted a post-nationalist ideology. They call it the Century Initiative, to triple our population, to favor globalist interests and multinational corporations at our expense. They've driven down wages with excess temporary foreign workers, with abusing the international student program and allowing fraudulent and often criminal arrivals to come in and abuse our system. That abuse must stop. We must have more people leaving than coming over the next several years as we bring down our population and allow our health care, our housing, our job market.
Thank you, Pierre. Darcy.
So I love meeting new Canadians and I love working with new Canadians. They are a whole group of energy that you don't often see. But we have to balance that with people who originally were here, people like myself who came later, and it all has to work together. And I do believe it's time for a little bit of a pause and an adjustment on the immigration. I believe we went a little too rapidly. I'm involved in the University of Alberta and in the Petroleum Engineering Advisory Council. And one of the things that has given the universities all across the country a lot of grief is this student visa fiasco. So I believe the Carney government is presently pausing things and looking at things, and that's critical. If I put myself back in my shoes, my family arrived in the Battle River Valley smelling of garlic sausage and getting off the train speaking all kinds of funny languages. And we were the backbone of this country, so I think we need to continue, but it has to be a balanced approach that needs adjusting.
I don't like how he's trying to give Mark Carney a pass on this.
I believe in putting Canadians first. I believe that we should lower immigration levels just a little bit, but also reinvest in Canadians. We have tons of people who are living here who have untapped skills, and we can create programs that could reinvest into our economy. If we create programs, more programs, where doctors can come from different countries, they're already here, and reintegrate faster, we can have more doctors, we can have more healthcare professionals. You know, we have people here who can help us, and we need to focus on immigration with balance and compassion, but we also need to recognize that we do need to slow it down a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine.
I think a handful of my colleagues up here need to check their privilege. Immigration is vitally important to our country. And when you look on a global scale, there's a war happening in Gaza, in Ukraine, and significant unrest in the United States. Where will these people be able to go? We should be welcoming people here in Canada.
No. We absolutely should get back to our, pre-Trudeau levels of immigration, but saying check your privilege?
Nothing. That's not the way it works. Canada is vast. There's more than enough area. This riding is vast. It takes me 8 hours just to get across it. There's more than enough space. And if anything...
Yes, and there's no labor to build new cities. We have a housing crisis.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff.
Thank you, Shauna. The Liberals have done everything they can to ruin this country. They tax as much as they can. Thank you. I don't have much to say this time around, so keep it up. I'm just kidding. No, they've done everything they can to ruin this country as fast as they can. They tax as much as they can. They spend as fast as they can. They give away as much money as they can, and they open the doors to everybody who wants to come here. I believe in controlled immigration, but I believe that there needs to be a pause on immigration until we get our own house in order and get things under control here. So I agree that people in war-torn countries, my neighbor Catherine here, they would not be refugees so much as, they would not be immigrants so much as refugees. And so there's an argument for that. But we need to make just about a complete pause on immigration at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Grant.
I'm going to stand up here because my legs are sore. Well, I'll say this. My family is an immigrant family. We pioneered land about 125 miles from here. And I'm a very proud Western Canadian. I'll tell you this, you guys are being sold a bill of goods here tonight from Mr. Poilievre because he's talking to you about unleashing our energy sector. I would like to know how Mr. Poilievre is going to do that when he refuses to tell us whether he'll leave the UN Climate Accord that completely restricts our carbon. I would like to know about inflation. Inflation is government. No. Inflation is government debt. And the reason we have lost 40% of our spending in this nation is because of rampant spending that is destabilizing our country. And that is exactly why we have a U.S. president looking at a post-national government that is careening towards destruction. We need to have deeper...
I think other than Pierre, I think I like this guy the best.
So this next question, Bonnie, we're going to start with you. This one is around government accountability and democracy. So given that several candidates do not reside within the boundaries of this riding, what does local representation mean to you? And what specific actions will you undertake to ensure the perspectives and priorities of the constituents are authentically represented?
Oh, goody. You found my favorite one. I absolutely 100% agree. If you want to run for an area, you need to live here.
Very reasonable.
This longest ballot crap, that's got to stop. We need one person who will be the official agent. That way we don't have one person sponsoring 200 people. But first and foremost, you don't know what's going on here unless you live here. As for government accountability, I absolutely would use my position as a swing vote within a minority government to push for government accountability. I want to release everybody's spending. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bonnie. Michael.
I believe first and foremost, you have to be able to live in the riding to be able to represent it. Number two, you have to be able to show up to all the events. You have to be able to go from town to town. This is a big riding, and talk to every single person in this riding that you can. And I've seen, out of the 200 or so candidates that are running in this election, I don't think even 75% of them are stepping foot in the province, and that's got to stop. I don't know what Thomas, or whatever his official and agent name is trying to chorus in our writing here, but that's got to stop. I'm sorry. And for representation and accountability for my bid for the member of parliament position would be, I'm not running for a wage. I'm wanting to be your member of parliament for free. I'm not willing to take a wage. I don't want a pension. I want to make sure that at the end of the day you have good representation, and I'm doing it for free. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ashley.
Well, right off the bat, I'll admit I do not live in this riding. I live in Red Deer, so I'm adjacent to the riding. I'm not thousands of kilometers away, but no, I do not live in within BRC myself. One of the quickest, easiest ways possible to make sure something like this doesn't happen with a long ballot committee is electoral reform. The Green Party's been pushing for this for decades. The Liberal Party campaigned on it in 2015, came into office swearing this was the last election by first past the post, gave it to an inexperienced junior MP who had no idea what they were doing, then underfunded it, under-advertised it, had tiny little town halls that hardly anybody went to, and then just poof, it disappeared. So now here we are, 210 people, most of them on up here as a protest because they're angry at first past the post, now it ignores people. This system needs to be changed. A Green MP would fight for that every day that they're in Parliament.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
Thank you very much. Look, I'll be honest, having a leader of a political party as your local member of parliament is a trade-off. On the one hand, the leader, in truth, lives in hotel rooms, in low-budget hotel rooms across the country. I can assure you, they live in St. John's, Newfoundland one night, and in Sault Ste. Marie the next, and maybe Port Alberni after that. At the other side, though, is that leader can bring a very powerful megaphone to the local issues of the community. For example, getting a pipeline built from Hardisty over to Prince Rupert or to Kitimat, that is a local issue that requires national leadership. Protecting your right to own a hunting rifle, that is a local issue that requires national leadership. Fixing the prison in Drumheller is a local issue that needs national leadership. I will provide that strong.
I'd say he recovered from all those attacks.
Thank you,
about
Pierre.
not living in the riding nicely.
Darcy.
I'm Darcy Spady. I'm from Three Hills, and I don't want to be Prime Minister. Kudos to you, Pierre, for being. I really have had a great career. I've been part of this East Central Alberta community for my whole life, and I really want to just represent the key issues here onto the government benches. I feel very strongly as an energy, oil and gas guy, I've known what happens here in the exploration in the coal bed methane here across this region, in the deeper Duvernay to the south, and I've watched the production grow, the reservoirs, the field engineers who do the work, the service companies. I want to see that prosper, and I want to see the agriculture sector prosper. I'm not asking for much. I'm asking to be your local responsive representative on the government benches. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah.
For me, I want to be your representative. I don't want to be a representative for anybody else other than the people of Battle River Crowfoot. I do not care what side of the political spectrum you guys are on. We are all on different sides of the spectrum, and that is A-okay. But I am here to listen and to help and to bridge the gap between this political spectrum that we are continuing to see a divide in. It is time that we actually pay attention and listen to what each other are saying and understand that we are essentially all fighting for the same thing. We're just saying it a different way. And I want to be somebody here who can be accountable, be representative for you guys. And like I said, at the end of the day, you guys are my boss. Nobody else. I answer to nobody else but you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine.
Well, I'm from Musqueam, Alberta, and once upon a time that used to be a part of this riding. It's no longer a part of the riding. It was back in 2015 when I ran against Kevin. Thank you for being here. But I mean, I'm a hop, skip, and a jump away from the border. It literally is 2 minutes walk from my house. But with all that said, I'm an hour out of Camrose, or 40 minutes out of Camrose, but Drumheller is 2-3 hours away from you guys. So I don't know if that matters all that much. I'm not in Ontario, I'm not from Ontario, and I come to the riding, or I come throughout this entire riding on the regular. I'm here every other day, so I'll still be here, even after all of this.
Well, that was a whole word salad of nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I call Airdrie home, and I also don't want to be Prime Minister. But the issue of, and of course I will relocate here in a heartbeat if I win. That's not a problem. But the issue of first past the post came up. The Tories, the issue came up in Parliament, and there was a free vote on it not long ago. And the Tories, almost to the man, only 3 dissented, but the Tories resisted and rejected the idea of even talking about first past the post, proportional representation, which would help small parties like ours get a voice in this country. So they're good with first past the post because it works for them. That's not good for the country. It's not good for democracy. But anyways, I can hardly believe it was a free vote. I think they were whipped. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Grant.
I think the people of Battle River and Crowfoot are interested in the truth. The truth is the Conservative Party voted for Bill C-4 that will criminalize you if you stop your child transitioning. Each of you will go to jail for 5 years. Pierre Poilievre talks about faith, family, and freedom. It's a sham. And I think the other conversation we continue to need to have is what is really going on. What's going on in this country is that our sovereignty is being betrayed on a national level. And the only response is the people of Alberta that have the faith, the resiliency, the strength, the wealth, and the grit to actually stand up to the selling out of the nation. And so while we're talking about this tonight, remember, we are talking about 2 Canadas, because what's happening in this country is a pandering to Ontario and Quebec to get this gentleman elected, and you're paying the price. That's what's going on.
Thank you, Grant. Jonathan.
So electoral reform, it's been a problem for quite some time where we see large portions of this country voting, and actually more, I believe more votes for the Conservative Party than the Liberals in this last election, yet the Liberals have the government. It doesn't really make sense that that's the case. I will be honest, between raising 5 children and working full-time, I haven't been able to go out and hammer out the details on electoral reform, but I would definitely bring that up before Parliament if I was elected. And for those who are interested, I was born and raised in the Battle River Crowfoot area. I spent all of my life here. So it's very near and dear to my heart, and I very much want to stay here and see it become a very prosperous region in this country of Canada.
Thank you, Jonathan. So next question, we're going to start with you, Michael. This one is around healthcare and social services. So Canada's public healthcare system is a core part of our identity, yet many are concerned about the quiet rise of privatization, services being outsourced, user fees increasing, and private clinics.
Our healthcare system has become an embarrassment.
Threatens universal healthcare. And what would you do to protect and strengthen our public system?
Thank you. First of all, I want to point out the Libertarian Party is in favor of private health care. I personally believe in a little bit of a hybrid system where we still have free health care for those that can afford basic access to health care, while still allowing health care for those that can afford it. If they want to pay for it, they should be able to get it fast and easy. Because right now, there are currently waits for up to about 8 hours on average just to see a doctor. Not to get treatment, but just to see a doctor. And that's across the board in this communal system that we call the public healthcare system. And if people are able to afford better healthcare or be able to get it faster, why not? We can still keep our public healthcare system, but why not let those that can afford it get better healthcare? Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ashley.
Okay, so here in Alberta for a number of years, we've heard about, privatizing healthcare. Our system is broken. Our system is being attacked. It's not broken by its very nature. It's being attacked by forces that want to privatize it. And I get what Michael's saying about how he supports a blended system of sorts, or this hybrid system of a blended private and public, but if we don't have enough doctors and nurses and social workers and psychologists and pharmacists now, we're going to have even less when the for-profit side can pay them more than what the government can pay them. So this doesn't actually fix the system, it's going to make it even worse. A green government believes that everyone deserves a doctor, deserves access to pharmacare, deserves access to dentistry, mental health services, therapy, and so on. We would pass a Primary Care Health Act that would guarantee every citizen's access to these much...
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
Quite frankly, it's the Liberal government in Ottawa that has denigrated our healthcare system. To start with the out-of-control population growth of particularly the last 5 years, our ratio of patient to doctor is now worse than it's ever been. We need to cap immigration to ensure that we can add doctors and nurses faster than we add people. Second, we need to grow our economy faster because our federal healthcare transfer grows at the same rate as our economy. And that means unleashing our resources, and lowering taxes, and making our economy stronger. And third, we have 20,000 immigrant doctors, 32,000 immigrant nurses who cannot work because they can't get a license. We have a red seal that's already in place for the trades, a national license for the licensed trades. We should do the same thing with a blue seal based on a high standard that immigrant doctors can take a test, prove they're qualified.
Now, we've all heard Pierre Poilievre say this about 10,000 times, but that is a good point.
Pierre. Darcy.
Thank you. I love the Canadian healthcare system. I've been a user of it my entire life, except for when I was out of the country. And I think we have the greatest system on earth. And frankly, the present government and the work they're doing to make sure it's consistently across all the provinces is a lot of work, and I'm happy the way it's working. Myself, I have 2 new knees brought to me by the Alberta system. And I want to ensure that if I live in New Brunswick or Ontario, as a Canadian, I want to make sure I have consistency. So to me, the system as a whole needs to continue as it is and get better with time because it is one of the best in the world. I've lived out of the country a couple times in the United States.
Saying we have the best healthcare system in the world is one of the craziest things I've heard in a long time.
It is certainly a preferred system for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah.
I want to say thank you to Pierre first for elaborating on my point about increasing doctors, international doctors. So thank you for that. Glad we agree on that. But one thing I can do as an independent is, this is exactly where my leverage comes in place in a minority government. I can go in, and if somebody wants my vote, I can say, yeah, sure, I will give you my vote, but I want to write in that we can have something that will benefit the people of Battle River Crowfoot. You want more rural health supports? Sure, let's write that into the bill. Let's make sure that happens. Let's use the leverage that an independent would have in a minority government to get the things that we need in this province. We need more doctors, we need more healthcare workers, and an independent is going to be a great way to try and get that here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine.
An estimated 6.5 million Canadians don't have a doctor, and the problem is only getting worse. And when Pierre Poilievre was in government with Stephen Harper, he cut $43.5 billion in healthcare transfers. Nearly 4 million Canadians will have diabetes medicine for free, and nearly 10 million Canadians will have free birth control because the NDP fought for it. Almost 3.5 million Canadians can see a dentist because the NDP fought for it. At a time like this, Canadians want to fight for the public health care more than ever. And we will take steps to crack down on privatization. We won't sell out our health care to American-style for-profit system.
Notice she hasn't said what steps they're going to take to make our health care better, though. They're just trying to demonize a private system that doesn't exist here.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Socialist governments and liberal governments promise you the sun, the moon, and the stars. But at the end of the day, as Vladimir Lenin said, socialism is the first and necessary step on the road to communism. So it's where these things go that you have to be concerned about. Nice to have everything for free, but nothing is free. And the CHP government is committed to maintaining our universal healthcare insurance, but it doesn't matter to me who delivers it, as long as it's delivered in a time free, first of all, and in a timely manner. Did I say free? Sorry about that. Anyways, so we need to maintain the best of the universal healthcare system that we have. That is our insurance system. But again, it really doesn't matter who delivers the service as long as it's done in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Grant.
Well, I find it very interesting that we're speaking about a provincial issue in a federal election debate. I'd remind you that the only relevant issue in a discussion about our health care in Alberta is the fact that we're submitting equalization payments to Ottawa, and we're dropping about $10 to $12 billion a year. If we actually had that money, we could have an amazing health care system, and where that money's going is to support the broken infrastructure within this nation and to prop up Ontario and Quebec. So if you really want to talk about a healthcare system that's working, let's actually look at where that money's going that's from Alberta. And I celebrate our healthcare system. I celebrate the universal healthcare system. It's led the world. But let's be real about the economics of this, because it's equalization that's the problem here. And the country's broken. And we are going down the drain economically. Inflation is because we're burdened with debt, and there's no plan.
Thank you, Grant. Jonathan.
Grant, I'd like to thank you for reminding us all that it is the province that chooses how to spend the money. I need each and every one of you to go out and talk to your MLA and ask them why there is so much bloat on the top of AHS. There are way more managers than there are workers. It does not work that way. If my company worked that way, we'd never get anything done. As far as private versus public health care, I truly believe that we already have a two-tiered system. We have lots of people spending lots of money outside of our country to get care faster. If we allow private enterprise to provide these care inside of our country, that keeps more money in our economy, which then increases our economy and gives everybody else a better chance at making it's tax revenue, it's everything. It keeps the money here where it should be.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
Well, first off, I want to pull everybody's attention to the fact that Monsieur Poilievre totally skipped the accountability portion of the government accountability question. But carrying on, I do appreciate that he reiterated my point about immigration and not the Canadian government not accepting the governments and the qualifications of people. However, healthcare is provincial. I hate to say it. I want to help. I want to fix it. It's provincial. I personally would love to see it go federal, because I've gone province to province to province with my job, and suddenly the things I can do in Alberta, I can't do in Saskatchewan. I can't do in BC. I can't do in New Brunswick. I would like to see it come back provincial so that we do not have individuals such as Ms. Smith completely selling us out.
Thank you, Bonnie. So now we are going to take a 20-minute break and come back at 8:30. So get up, refresh yourselves, use the facilities, have conversations amongst yourself and enjoy. And we'll be back here promptly at 8:30.
All right, so we have a 20-minute break, and I might use that to make myself another coffee, or we could talk about what we just saw. Now, if anybody's active in the chat, I would like to know who your favorite of the candidates are. And for me, this is kind of complicated because, full disclosure, guys, I don't live in Alberta. I live on the East Coast. So my motivation, I would like to see Pierre Poilievre take this, but obviously I have to admit that if I lived in Battle River Crowfoot, I would feel very differently. I would easily want one of the independent or libertarian candidates to win this, hands down. Yeah, there's no question that they are a lot better on a lot of these issues than Pierre Poilievre. I gotta say I don't enjoy Pierre Poilievre when he just immediately he starts talking like a regular person, and then all of a sudden he just puts on his campaign mode. He puts on that voice where it's just the same canned speech over and over again. Like, it's almost like he just doesn't actually respond to the question, and he just goes into these the same tangent that he has said 1,000 times before at his rallies. Yeah, I just I don't know about this one, guys. Pierre Poilievre is, I think it's pretty safe to say that he's got this one in the bag. But regardless, this is one of the more fascinating debates I've seen in a long time. It would be nice if national debates were like this. It would be awesome if, like, the federal debates brought out issues like this. I've never seen such an interesting conversation between 10 people before when it comes to a debate stage. Like, Mark Carney, Jagmeet Singh, and Pierre Poilievre, that was a snooze fest compared to this. I'd like to see them start, like, directly asking each other questions and engaging with each other more instead of reading the audience questions like this. But yeah, I wanted to switch gears here for one moment, though, because there's something else that I kind of wanted to talk about tonight. So this is Mark Carney failing to get a deal with the United States. It's absolutely crazy how he ran on being the one to negotiate with Donald Trump, and now we have the European Union getting a deal with the United States. Now, obviously, not everybody in the EU is happy with this development. I think France today said out loud that it was a dark day for France because they were capitulating to the United States, and I get that, because at the end of the day, they're still paying a 15% tariff on their exports to the United States. But it sure as hell beats a 35% tariff, and right now it doesn't seem like Mark Carney is anywhere as close to even wanting to make a deal with the United States. So this one from CBC Watcher, Kate Harrison: many Canadians held their nose and voted Liberal because they thought Mark Carney would be the guy to get a deal done. So I think there's a lot of goodwill being extended, end quote. But at some point, that's going to come up against the reality of the tariff environment, continued inflationary spending, and again, missing that bigger picture on affordability challenges that are facing people. Because we're talking about tariffs, we're not talking about the cost of groceries right now, we're not talking about the housing crisis. These are problems that Canadians are grappling with. So because Mark Carney has raised expectations on the issue, he's going to be the one that probably falls to some of these expectations that he has set. So this clip from CBC Watcher, let's check this out.
And I turn to Kate here because, yes, volatility, is it as good as the paper it's written on? I mean, frankly, we don't even know if there are papers that have been written on for the European deal. It doesn't seem like anybody's seen that. It's been all word of mouth about what's been communicated. The Japanese deal is very, very thin. The details to be worked out later. What happens for Canada, given that we have to renegotiate this thing by law anyway a year from now?
Yeah, well, it's clear Canada's strategy here is to try and keep their powder dry on as much as possible until that broader renegotiation.
Which is in a year. Mark Carney would like nothing more than to just kick the can down the road and try to stall the United States as much as possible. It's a big game of chicken to these people, but Donald Trump has shown that he's not playing around, and he will indeed put a 35% tariff on us. The deadline is in 2 days, guys, August 1st. So will it come or will it won't? Or will it not? Only time will tell.
Because any give now could give way to some bigger concessions as a part of the formal CUSMA renegotiation that happens in 2026. So you can understand the strategy behind wanting to concede as little as possible for the current government. But that is coming up against the political reality and the economic reality of continued tariffs, particularly for really key industrial sectors in Ontario and in Quebec with auto and steel respectively. And again, the Prime Minister being the one to raise the stakes about the focus and the importance of achieving a new economic and security pact with the United States. This was a one-issue election for the Prime Minister. Many Canadians held their nose and voted Liberal because they thought that Mark Carney would be the guy to get a deal done. So I think there is a lot of goodwill.
Even CBC admits this, guys. Most Canadians held their nose and voted for Mark Carney because they thought that he would be the one to get a deal done. And that did not happen. So I want to go over to the chat here for a second because Christine Cartwright says, I'm sure you know that Canada already has a deal with the EU for military procurement. Oh, just a second here. Yeah, so I'm sure you know that Canada already has a deal with the EU for military procurement. Yeah, absolutely. I am well aware of that fact. And John says, is he winning? Pierre Poilievre, I think he's got this one in the bag. I think he's 100% going to win this one. I don't think it's going to be a shoo-in like he thinks. I think a few of these candidates are definitely going to give him a run for his money. But no, I think he's got this one in the bag. He's definitely not going to get the numbers that he thinks he is, but I can say with confidence that he is going back to the House of Commons. But honestly, I'm a huge supporter of Pierre Poilievre, but I gotta say, if I lived in Battle River Crowfoot, I might just want one of these other people representing me. But no, I think Pierre Poilievre is the only choice for the Conservative Party right now. I think that if he were to lose this and all of a sudden lose the leadership race, that would just weaken the party so much, and that we could end up with another lame duck like an Aaron O'Toole or something. You know what I mean? John says, good. This 200 candidate move is BS. 100% it is, dude. This is like, I was talking about this a little bit at the start of the show, but yeah, no, it's crazy. Like, I honestly sort of appreciate what they're trying to do because, like, they want to draw attention to electoral reform, and I think that's a good point. I think it would be amazing if Canada had a system where we actually had independent MPs in the House of Commons, because all of these independents and libertarians that are debating against Pierre Poilievre right now, a lot of them are awesome on the issues. I'm not even going to lie. I like a lot of what they say, but notice that the longest ballot initiative isn't targeting Mark Carney. It isn't targeting the NDP. It's completely 100% against Pierre Poilievre. So that's very telling in and of itself. So yes, John, I agree with you. It is BS. Big time, dude. I want to get back to this clip here, but since we're on the topic, just bear with me 1 second. If you join me late here, I was showing this at the start of the stream, and I want to go back to it just in case anybody new is watching, because this is how comically absurd it is. Oh, I'm still on the chat here. Just 1 second. There we are. Check this out, guys. Pleb Reporter put this out. The ballot in Pierre Poilievre's upcoming by-election has so many names on it, it now reaches over 7 feet long. So that's like a doctored image of what it would look like if you put this ballot next to Shaq. All right, look at that. It's taller than Shaquille O'Neal. So now, obviously, it's come out that like this is absolutely ridiculous. Like we'd probably have to cut down a whole forest to actually print these off for every single person in Battle River Crowfoot. So they're having everybody write the name that they're choosing on a blank piece of paper. And that just leaves the question open, you know what I mean? Is a spoiled ballot if you spell the candidate's name wrong? Because Pierre Poilievre is sort of a hard name to spell. Like, I know how to spell it. I can say with confidence that I wouldn't have to cheat and look at my phone. But yeah, no, there's definitely going to be more than one person who spoils their ballot because they spell Pierre Poilievre or any of the other candidates' names wrong. There's no question about that, guys. But I want to get back to that video here, and I also got to keep an eye on the time here because we are going back to the debates in 8 minutes. But thanks for coming out and hanging out with me, guys. It's so cool to see. I got about 16 people watching live right now, so I think that's pretty cool for a small channel like mine. So thanks for tuning in. But yeah, no, let's get back to this video here because I wanted to get into some of this tariff nonsense here. Canadian Federation of Independent Business, Dan Kelly, on the impact of Carney counter tariffs. Look, 16% of small businesses directly export to the United States, but 49% import from the U.S., so it's Canada's retaliatory tariffs that are really having a massive outsized impact on Canadian small businesses, small and medium-sized companies, and of course, consumers too. Yeah, of course, guys. A retaliatory tariff on the United States is a tax on Canadians. I can't say that more loudly and more clear. I feel like I'm going crazy over this because, like, the elbows up crowd just somehow thinks that this is going to show the Americans. No, we cannot win a trade war with the largest economy in the world. It's asinine and insane that people think that this can be done.
Huge. Look, 16% of small businesses directly export to the United States, but 49% import from the U.S. So it's Canada's retaliatory tariffs that are really having a...
Sorry, I want to get back to this because I really enjoy interacting with the chat, and I think Sheriff of YouTube has left, but I was enjoying his comments earlier. But when we're watching the debates, I can't just turn it down to talk to you guys, unfortunately. I'll try my best, but Carol writes, why don't the 200 candidates show up to the debate if they truly care? Yeah, obviously. That's a very good point, Carol. Well, I guess they'd have to have a pretty large table. They'd probably have to have about 10 hours allotted for this thing as opposed to what's it going to go on for 2.5 hours? I'm not quite sure. But yeah, no, why don't the 200 candidates show up to the debate? Because they don't live there. Because this is all just... This isn't a protest for electoral reform, as they're saying. This is 100% targeted against Pierre Poilievre. Yeah, that's a great point you bring up there.
Massive outsized impact on Canadian small, medium-sized companies, and of course consumers too. And we have to worry about what's happening on both sides. If tariffs are here to stay, if August 1st passes and we hit the 35% level, does Canada retaliate in some fashion? Because that retaliation is economic damage to the country where small firms have to pay an awful lot more for every imported good, and then figure out if they can pass on those new costs to consumers. So this is pretty serious, as we all know. And what's most important, of course, is protecting the CUSMA exemption. If August 1st passes and we keep that CUSMA exemption where I think it's 2/3 to 3/4 of trade continues today to move across the border tariff-free, we're probably going to be okay for the interim. But if we lose the CUSMA exemption, then all bets are off.
What are the conversations you're hearing then? Because I think you pointed out something really important there. CUSMA is something there that is rather protective. And if it's removed, then, we don't know where we stand. What are you hearing in terms of those conversations from the people you represent?
Well, the worry from small business is significant. I was just in Huntsville with the premiers and talking to many of them and asking them whether they think a deal is in the offing. Many said that they think that there is a possibility of getting across the finish line on August the 1st, but it is highly uncertain. But look, it is the uncertainty that is the major challenge right now, and
I'm not optimistic Canada's going to get across the finish line on August 1st. Nope, we are still in our elbows up phase, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know what Mark Carney's holding out for. I don't know why he's so hell-bent on making supply management the issue that's going to tank our relationship with the United States. Because by the time we get these quote-unquote infrastructure projects done, did you guys see the announcement out of Nova Scotia today, for instance? Premier Tim Houston was bragging about becoming an energy superpower with offshore wind turbines. By the time those things are actually built, Donald Trump won't be in the White House anymore, and this will be moot. We are led by very, very incompetent people, and it's kind of concerning.
We do need to land this plane soon, especially if other countries do have deals. This will be pretty tough for Canada to have this massive, massive amount of uncertainty resting over our economy. It is causing businesses to make all sorts of really bad decisions right now. Some of them are just sitting on investment opportunities, holding back on growth or expansion, and we need to get an answer to this question, and so the urgency is super high.
So with the
urgency is super high, but all Mark Carney has done recently was announce the PEI bridge will be half the price that it was. So it's going down from $50 to cross the bridge from New Brunswick to PEI to $25. And what he's not telling you, though, guys, is that the government is going to be subsidizing that cost. So the company that maintains the bridge is still going to be getting paid. Just the taxpayers are going to be paying for it. And, what they were talking about in the debate with the equalization payments, guess what, guys? That's going to be going to Prince Edward Island's bridge. And honestly, I was going to put a video about this tonight, but I decided to cover the debates instead. But there's been some allegations that Anita Anand's husband's company has like a 35% stake in the revenue from the bridge. So there's some more corruption going on there. But I'm keeping my eye on the time, and it is, it's almost 11:30. So let's check back in. Nope, I guess they're still on break. All right. So this is some more Freedom Convoy stuff. Why was Barton laughing during this interview with this weasel? Of course, CBC gave this clown a platform to spew his nonsense. The minute the longest ballot committee specifically targeted 2 ridings involving Poilievre, their true mission was revealed. So this clip is kind of interesting because this is one of the candidates in the longest ballot initiative. Notice he's not at the debates tonight. Why would he be? Because this whole thing is a sham.
What made you decide to get involved in the longest ballot protest movement? Well, you know, ever since I was a
Welcome back,
teenager
everybody.
watching the elections
Thank you
happen on election night.
for returning. And I just want to send a
No
shout
time
out
for that.
to all
Back
of
to the
those who are
debates.
viewing on the live stream as well. Thank you for coming back after that break. And just for anyone who's not aware, the live stream will also be available for 48 hours. So if you have any friends, relatives, family, neighbors that you think would benefit from being
Live stream will be available forever on this channel.
Cameras.live website. All right, so again, just a reminder of the format. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. We will move to the next question, and again, you can or choose not to respond, but obviously we're not having that issue at all as we go forward. So the next question, we start with you, Ashley. Government accountability and democracy. So serious concerns have been raised regarding the fairness and effectiveness of Canada's electoral system. What is your position on electoral reform, and do you support transitioning away from the current first-past-the-post model? If so, what alternative system would you advocate for?
So yes, I absolutely do believe we should move away from the first past the post system. It's been a part of the Green Party platform for decades now, I would say. For me personally, I've ran in a few elections. Everybody, like let's say everybody in this room, like if you're a representative of this riding, Damien got what, 84, 85%? So there's about 16% didn't vote for the Conservatives. Yeah, it's an amazing thing to get that many votes, but those 16% of you that didn't vote for him were ignored. You have no say for the next upwards of 4 years. So I believe we do need to reform the system so that people's votes actually matter. As for the type of system that I would implement, that would have to be studied, analyzed, look to see what the most fair and comprehensive system is so that everybody's vote can count as much as possible. We don't want to leave anybody out of the democratic process so they feel that their voice is ignored and people stop it.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
Well, first of all, this longest ballot thing is a total scam and it must be stopped. I'm the only leader that this interest group seems to have targeted for some reason, and that I find interesting, but it is a total scam and there is no good public interest reason to do it. I think anybody should be allowed to run, but they should have to get unique signatures and they should have a unique financial agent. If you did that, you'd guarantee this would never happen again. God willing, if I have your support and I get to Parliament, I will put forward legislative changes to make sure that this never happens again anywhere in Canada. And speaking of accountability, we need to build on Stephen Harper's Accountability Act to crack down on the loopholes that Liberals, including Mark Carney, have exploited. We need to ensure that our leaders are working for you and not for their private profit. Thank you.
Brookfield has entered
Thank
the
you,
chat.
Pierre. Darcy.
My comments are similar on the longest ballot. I think it's been quite problematic, and I think especially people who have difficulty initially when the ballot was going to be very long in physical length would be just difficulty handling it. And now that it's different, it's going to be a pain, and it confuses everything, and I do not think it has a place, but it is put together as part of our system. So I will just say I don't like it, and I would like that I think we should try and change it. As far as being a Canadian, and as far as our system and the workability in the world, I had the privilege as international president of the Society of Petroleum Engineers of traveling in that term of 3 years to 49 different countries. And my pride grew with every country because there are so many places that have systems that don't work, systems that are corrupt. So I stand here as a proud Canadian, and I'm proud of our Prime Minister, and I'm proud of our system, and it works generally, and I would love to...
Boo.
Thank you, Darcy.
I was saying
Sarah.
boo earns.
I have said many times that I think healthy protest is a good idea, but the way the longest ballot is going about it is not okay. You know, they've kind of hindered us here. And I do agree that we should have electoral reform, and I do agree with Ashley when saying that it is something that needs to be studied. It is something that we need to ensure that everybody is getting they feel like their voice is heard. And it's unfortunate that this is where we're at, but we're Albertans, we're tough. We can get over this. We can write a name. Nobody thinks we can, and I know we can. So please go find the name that you want. Please write it down. My last name is spelled Spanier. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine.
It's easier to spell than Poilievre, that's for sure.
Electoral reform is exactly what the longest ballot wanted. So the fact that everybody here is talking about electoral reform means that their form of protest is in fact working. They actually didn't just start neither. They were doing this since 2021. So it's interesting, and you know, they are targeting Pierre because he's, sorry, but almost a circus. Look at the stuff going on around him. They know it's going to cause an uprising, and they want people to speak out about it. So if that's what they're looking for, is that attention, that's exactly what you're giving them. So electoral reform, having that happen, shh. You're giving them what they want.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff.
Thank you. I misspoke earlier. I said there was a bill discussed in Parliament about the proportional representation. Actually, it was a motion to talk about proportional representation, not a bill on the subject. And again, all but 3 Tory MPs and the Liberals voted against it. So first past the post works for the major parties, because of course they benefit from the system. They're not interested in looking at alternatives. If we had if we had proportional representation in this country, and a small party like the Christian Heritage Party ran 343 candidates across the country and got, say, 2% of the vote, we'd have 2% of the seats, and we'd have a voice in Parliament. You who care about the social issues that we are concerned about and other issues would have a voice in Parliament. And I think it would be a fine thing. And I am ashamed of the Tories and others who voted against it. Thank you.
I do agree with that, guys. It would be awesome if we had smaller parties and independents in the House of Commons.
Is in Western Canada, even if we had the tightest voting system in the world, we have to recognize that Western Canada was set up as a colony of a colony. The disproportionality of senators and/or MP seats in this country, the way it was set up from 1867 forward through 1905, the establishment of Alberta and most of the Western provinces, has been to have us pay to make that system work, and neutralized by the imbalance in the electoral system. So we can talk about voting and ballots and making sure that Elections Canada reforms or at least does a review with vital statistics so there's no voting cards going into old folks' homes, whatever. But we have to recognize that that isn't changing the constitutional lockdown of Western Canada, and you're going to continue to pay.
Thank you, Grant. Jonathan.
I think electoral reform is long overdue in this country. Proportional representation might be a very good option. We'll have to study that a lot more. Sorry, I had a thought. There's a lot of pressure being up here sometimes, and you get thinking and then you talk about something else and forget it. But what it comes down to is we tend to see in a lot of ridings where people get 35% of the vote and they become the representative. So what happens to that other 65% of people in that area? I also see a lot of gatekeeping from the administration of a constituency office. People send in emails and they never get a reply back. I don't think that all of the MPs are trying not to skirt around people, but I do believe that MPs need to make sure that all the questions that come into them do get addressed.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
So once again, I noticed Monsieur Poilievre skirted the question. There, he said nothing on electoral reform and was angry at the longest ballot. Granted, we all are angry at the longest ballot, yeah? Yeah, I thought so. But no, it benefits, our current system benefits the two big parties. I very much want to see electoral reform. I am currently looking into proportional representation. I am emailing people. It is not on my platform as of yet because I don't know the ins and outs. We need it. You're not going to give it to us. Liberals aren't going to give it to us. We need it.
Thank you, Bonnie. Michael.
First of all, I would like to point out a previous comment on the last panel that we had that Ashley admitted that healthcare workers would get paid more under a private system than our public system, so I just want to point that out. Number two, I refuse to give any more attention to the longest ballot people because honestly, they're doing this for attention. This isn't a protest. They're asking for attention. If anybody knows any of those names on those ballots, I recognize for them. They're being supported by the Rhino Party of Canada. They're a joke. This isn't a protest. And in my opinion, for electoral reform, the Liberal government has been promising for over 10 years that they were going to offer us electoral reform and remove the first past the post system. I don't know where that's going. We're still stuck with it. And in my opinion, we need to focus and push towards a ranked ballot system. And that would be what I'd be fighting for. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. So this next question will start with you, Pierre. It's around agriculture and rural development. So how will you support farmers and rural communities in adapting to the growing impacts of climate change, such as droughts, wildfires, and extreme weather, while also promoting sustainable agricultural practices, rural infrastructure, and rural economic development?
Well, there's a lot in that question. Let's start with infrastructure. And I was very pleased to meet with the special areas, OIN and special areas representatives who are working on getting a direct train route that would allow produce to go through Camrose straight to the west coast rather than having to go all the way east to Saskatoon. Right now, farmers from the area have to add 600 kilometers of extra transit in the wrong direction in order to get to the west coast and ship to world markets. And I will hope to work with the region to try and get that short line track completed. I know that Damien has done great work on it. But we also need to do other things. We need to get rid of the Liberal regulations that are cracking down on our farmers, get rid of the industrial carbon tax that's driving up the cost of fertilizer in this country. We need to respect the firearms rights of our farmers and allow them to use
Thank you, Pierre. Darcy.
Too many slogans, not enough time.
Speaking of fertilizer, I dream of the day when
dude.
fertilizer will be less than $1,200 a ton and canola will be more than $700 a ton. In fact, I'd like to switch them. My canola's going in the bin in the fall, Lord willing. I think it's looking good right now, and I want to make sure that when it hits the bin, that I get the best world price that I can. When I grew up, Dad had a wheat board ticket that we took every time we took a load of grain to the elevator, and Canada was known as a global superpower in cereals. We want to be back in a strong economy as a country where we can trade side to side and abroad and have strong leadership. I like the way things are moving with Prime Minister Carney talking about being the most growing economy in the G7. These are important to me as farmers.
Ooh.
Clearly we don't have farmers in the audience
boos.
because they're booing about getting our product to market. I think it's time we have pipelines that sell our oil and gas and solid trading practices around the globe.
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah.
Economic development is exactly where an independent can help you guys. And like I said, you guys are my bosses here. I can go and I can take that funding, I can bring it back, and that funding is already in the budget. I don't want anybody to think I'm here wanting to raise taxes or anything. But we have the funding, we have the means, we have the people here in order to work on rural economic development. And you know, I kind of want you guys to be selfish here for a second. Think about, put yourself first and then Canada. We can build up Battle River Crowfoot first, and then we can help build up the rest of Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine.
So before I get into agriculture, Ian would probably kill me if I didn't mention part of the electoral reform as sortition. So I'll leave it at that. You guys can look that up as an option. For agriculture, many of the farmers that I've gone out to speak to, they're not looking to be at a forum, and they're not looking to come out and speak. Most of them born and raised conservative. There's no changing that. They're going to be the way they are. But they did let me know some of the areas that they needed help. They're lacking in hands working on their farms. They're all coming together and working together, and they're aging, and they need people to come and help them. Immigration could help. You know, Trump's getting rid of all his people working on his agriculture. We'll take them, send them our way. We'll put them in our farms. They can help us.
Don't listen to this woman.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff.
Farming is everybody's bread and butter. That is about as much I know about the subject, but personally. But carbon taxes drive up the cost of everything, including farming practices and so on, and the price of food. And the Tories were happy with $30 a ton on a carbon tax. So, whereas the Liberals were recommending, or the NDP was recommending 50. The Liberals said they wouldn't go past that, but of course they went past it like it was standing still. But we need to, and another thing is the price of not just carbon, but nitrogen in the fertilizer. They're trying to restrict farmers, Liberals or governments are trying to restrict farmers' ability to grow crops, et cetera, et cetera. And all this needs to change. We need to eliminate, not just reduce carbon taxes to $30 a ton like the Liberals like.
Thank you, Jeff. Grant.
Well, this is a great conversation. You know what? We need to look at farmers in China and the tariffs that we're paying for canola and get those stripped down. But why can't we do that? Because this nation is riddled with foreign interference. David McGuinty in 2020 made a very clear report about that. Ample evidence of severe and sustained foreign interference that's undermining our political process and democracy. Yet, we have a leader of a political party here to my left who will not attain his clearance, security clearance. Hey, that's the truth. He won't attain his security clearance to actually tell you who the 11 MPs were that you were put in front of to vote. So would I get some more time for that, or is?
Yeah, so I'm going to say that you could have 15 more seconds.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, because we had 11 MPs in this federal election that were the direct agents of or under the.
If he got the security clearance, he would not be allowed to talk about it in the House of Commons, and he wouldn't be able to tell Canadians about it. This guy misses the point.
Poilievre.
Thank you, Grant. Jonathan.
We all know that a great deal of the money and the infrastructure and everything else in Western Canada has to do with farming. The amount of taxes that are being put on the fertilizer and CO2 is a little bit ridiculous. In fact, it's a lot ridiculous. Last I checked, CO2 is required for plant life. So if we're going to tax it to the death, we're going to have less plants growing instead of more. We have greenhouses that have to pay carbon tax because they put CO2 in there to make the tomatoes bigger. That carbon never gets outside of that plant except for inside of a tomato, but yet they have to pay taxes on it. The People's Party of Canada and I would see taxes reduced severely so that farmers have more money to put back into their farm and make it better.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
When I was running around, knocking on doors, did one quick tour of the riding, and then I'm taking my time going around again. one of the things that came up was agricultural innovation. Our successive federal governments, both parties, have sold off our innovation to big corporations. These corporations now charge our farmers royalties for seed, or they will sue your neighbor if your seed blows over into his field. This has got to stop. I intend to fully stand up for my neighbors. And if you tell me that agricultural innovation is the private member's bill you want me to put forward, that's what I will do. Because this has to come back to you so you can continue to feed the entire country, because they seem to have forgotten that fact.
Talking about GMO seeds, I like it.
Thank you, Bonnie.
I like it a lot.
Michael.
Quick question. Do we have any history buffs in this room right now? Does anybody know anything about the Gauss plan by any chance in the Soviet Union? It was a plan of centralized economy that was regulating the Soviet Union. And we have our very own Gauss plan here in Canada called supply management. And it is limiting the amount of produce of milk, poultry, eggs, all of that, all of the above, every single month. And if you go over that quota, well, it's got to go in the garbage. I've been going around talking to a lot of farmers in Drumheller, Acme, and Three Hills, where they have to dump hundreds of liters of milk every single month because of this policy. I'm the only candidate that's on this stage saying that we need to end the policy of supply management now, not later.
Yes.
We need to end it now. Thank you.
Major points for that one.
Thank you, Michael. Ashley.
Okay. So the Green Party of Canada platform effectively states that, and as we all know, Canadians need good, healthy, nutritious food that isn't absurdly expensive, that makes it to the point that we can't feed our families. We have to choose which meals, who gets what meal, and what meal we have to skip, and so on. You know, the Green Plan is to strengthen agriculture and food security, and that is built on the idea that we must strengthen and increase local and regional food production. We need to give, you know, Bonnie touched on it with big corporations buying up large tracts of land. For me, family farms need to actually be run by families, not by a family that runs a corporation and that can claim that it's a family farm and get all these tax breaks and then screw over the small farmers. We need an actual system that serves the people, not these big corporations. We need to create regional food hubs that can better supply the people of this country.
Thank you, Ashley. So this will be our final question of the evening, and Darcy, we're going to start with you. So around education and workforce development, student loans are a giant financial burden to young Canadians, but education is required for even basic jobs. Given restrictions on international students and a lack of university funding, how will you ensure Canadians can access affordable, top-tier educations without drowning in debt?
Good question. We do have one of the best educational systems on earth, and I'm very proud of it, and I'm very proud to be a rural student of that educational system. A ragtag bunch of us would leave Three Hills Sunday night and head up to U of A, and we'd generally regroup at the end of the week and head back to Three Hills. There wasn't much support from us, and I think we've seen some tremendous movements over the last number of years. I think we need a federal government that supports education across the board. We need to support our institutions, even though I realize that in cases it's a provincial jurisdiction. We need to support skilled trades. With the Build Canada program, we need more tradespeople. We need competent tradespeople to be operators on oil and gas wells. We need to be educated at every level, and we have the best system. We need to keep and maintain the best system. Summer job programs, a federal responsibility. That has to keep going. So I think
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah.
We all know education is a provincial issue, but that doesn't mean that the federal government can't step in and do something. We know that Alberta education is kind of lacking a little bit compared to other provinces, but we can still pick that up, you know, and I believe that that would involve having more post-secondary institutions in rural areas so more people can access these type of things. And, you know, we can run more programs to get people certificates that they need. We can kind of focus on some type of different repayment program for student loans that doesn't exactly hinder and kind of suffocate you you should be rewarded for getting an education, not being stuck in debt for years and years after. And I think it's time that we just kind of revamp the whole system, and I think that there should be some type of federal accountability in that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine.
So shout out to University of Alberta right here. I'm very, very educated, over-educated. I don't know if there's a job out there that really needs all this education. But I had a point to prove, and I proved it, I guess, that I can make myself crazy. Anyways.
Notice the one with the woke buzzwords is the one that's bragging about being overeducated.
Want to go to school, whether it be location, the amount of admitting students into the schools. There are 3 very well-off areas in this riding: Camrose, Three Hills, and Drumheller. And I'll say it's due to the post-secondary institutions that they house. It creates economic activity in the area. I think we need more.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff.
I agree that we need more education, but if you have spent the last 4 years getting a degree in gender studies, I'm not responsible for that. Sorry, that's on you. Thank you. I don't know, not you. I'm not saying you personally, Catherine. Anyone, but yeah, don't take me wrong. Anyways, yeah, education is important. I have a high school education, and I sell a book that I wrote, and the guy says, "What education do you have as high school?" I say that my pristine mind has not been polluted by our post-secondary institutions. Anyhow, it's I'm glad somebody appreciates that. But
I enjoyed it.
Education is important. It's a shame that a person has to have a degree now to get a job in a factory in Winnipeg where they make cardboard boxes, but that is the reality today. A university degree has become what used to be a high school education. That has to change, and we need more training in the trades and so on and so on.
Thank you, Jeff. Grant.
Well, with regard to education, I think we need to look closely at what our universities are doing in terms of funding themselves with foreign students. It's contributing to the immigration problem, and we're not exactly even sure what happens after the educational visa requires. So it's intertwined. We need to get our country's tertiary, second and third level institutions back to actually the job creation that we need to develop the infrastructure that we have offshored in these last 40 years in terms of a globalist agenda for this nation. And we start building things, making things, smelting things, again, we will actually be the wealth, create the wealth that our parents and our grandparents knew. And I think the other thing that we need to do is once we stop that budget of income for all of the immigration issues that are feeding our institutions, then we can actually say, what is the plan? And we need to purge out this DEI woke agenda that's feeding division in this country.
Thank you, Grant. Jonathan.
I'd like to challenge the premise of the question. Do you actually need a university degree to get a good job? As a mechanic, I had a high school education. I went into an apprenticeship. 4 years later, I was making very good money, and I had no student debt to pay off. We have student counselors that are straight up lying to students, telling them that they have to go to university to make anything of themselves. And then they end up with hundreds of thousands of dollars of student debt that they can't pay back because they're getting a job that only pays sometimes 50, 70% of what I make as a mechanic. It just doesn't make sense. We need to educate people on finance and how money actually works in junior high and high school so that they can go out and make better decisions.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
Well, as Ms. Spanier mentioned, education is a provincial responsibility. I would like to see more barriers to students getting into trades, and I would like to see our trades go smoother as you move province to province.
I'm sure she meant
However,
less barriers.
The one thing that I can touch as an independent in a minority government, I can start funneling the federal student work experience program back where it should be. This is what I have been told as I toured by various assorted town councilors and municipalities is our students, our youth don't have jobs. We need to have this work experience program, and we need to have these funds back into our community to give our youth the experience they need for the future.
Thank you, Bonnie. Michael.
First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to the University of Calgary and my fellow students that are watching this live stream. First of all, I just want to say, do not be fooled. The issues that we are facing in this province due to education are completely the result of our premier and the provincial government here in Alberta. We need to see more support for students. As a member and student of the University of Calgary, I see a lot of corruption in our student boards, for our teachers and our professors, where they are taking massive bonuses every single year, which almost doubles their income, while students are struggling to get by and to be able to pay for their education. All the while, we have a government that is disavowing the ability for people to homeschool, for people to be able to learn their trades. And as Johnny was saying, we're pushing people that to get a good job, you have to go to university, when that is not true. Good paying jobs in this province are from trade jobs, not from university jobs. Let's get more people into trade jobs, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ashley.
Okay. So for the Green Party, post-secondary education and the proper investment and the proper structuring of the programs is very important. We need to look at the jobs of the future, not the jobs of the past. We need to be training people, educating people to meet the demands of the future. I know that people denigrate a gender studies degree, a history degree, woke culture, commie dictators running the student unions, extra blah, 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 blah. But people go there for an education. They don't go there to get a massive debt. Like when I left university in, 2005, I had $40,000 in debt. Took me so long to pay that down, never even to actually finish paying it off. To be honest, it took so long that the amortization period lapsed and the federal government seized it, and it sits as a debt today that I still can pay off. But people are getting even more and more and more in debt for degrees that they can't actually use in the job.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
Bluntly speaking, this generation of youth has been totally screwed like never before. Start with their wages. The government's bringing in unprecedented numbers of low-wage temporary foreign workers, taking away the retail, accommodation, and restaurant jobs that normally paid the tuition of our youth. That has to stop. We have to cut back on that. Secondly, our universities are not equipping people with the right skills. I got a university education, U of C, it was great. But I'll tell you what we need is more emphasis on the trades. We need more of the people who can make stuff, move stuff, fix stuff, and move stuff. And we need to shift more of our resources to making it possible for our young people to sign on to the trades. And finally, we need to remove the red tape and the taxes to build homes that our young people can actually afford, so that when they graduate with student debt, they can still afford to buy a home and start a family and build a Canadian.
Thank you, Pierre. So now I would like to say thank you to all of the candidates and the audience for that engaging question period. So now we're going to go to 2-minute closing remarks, and we're going to go in reverse speaking order. So I would like to invite the candidates again to provide a 2-minute closing statement, and we'll start with you, Jeff.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in my opening statement, I explained how the Tories and Liberals have been working together for decades to bring us to our current state of affairs. This, of course, includes society's embrace of the culture of death, in which we abort our future, indoctrinate and sexually mutilate our youth, and euthanize our past. Now, many of you will be familiar with the parable of the Good Samaritan. In it, there's a wounded man in a ditch who had an unfortunate encounter with some robbers, and the upstanding religious people of his day walked right by him. Thankfully for him, a Samaritan with a functioning conscience stopped and gave him some help. Now, that man in the ditch today isn't a man. He's a boy who's had it drilled into his head since his first day of school that he might be a girl, or maybe he's one of the 2,000 young girls in this country who've had their breasts removed after years of said indoctrination. Or maybe he's the little old lady sitting alone in a hospital bed, hoping the doctor who just walked into the room with a needle in his hand isn't there to prematurely send her to her final reward. Well, folks, those are the people in that ditch today. And you have an opportunity to be that good Samaritan for all of them by sending the first Christian Heritage Party member of Parliament to Ottawa. If you do, it will awaken millions of Canadians to the existence of the CHP. Some good pro-life Tory MPs will probably cross the floor to it, and God willing, will run a full slate of candidates in the next general election, making that election a de facto referendum on these and many other issues on which we've until now had no say. The choice is yours. My name is Jeff Willerton. It's an honor to represent the Christian Heritage Party of Canada and be able to offer you not a slight deviation in policy, but a 180-degree change of course on these many and serious issues. And when you're on the wrong road, moving in the wrong direction, it's precisely what you need. And thus I believe that the party that I represent is exactly what the doctor ordered, and I ask for your vote. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Jeff. Catherine.
Thank you all so much for coming out and showing us your very, very enthusiastic behaviors, both for and against. You know, it lets us know we do live in a democracy. We're not in some kind of crazy authoritarian regime. We are allowed to have different viewpoints, and although we might not always agree on everything, I think everybody here has the mindset that we want to make things better. I didn't hear anybody saying anything about making things, well, I don't know, making things worse. And I just want to bring a voice of reason to the table. Again, I understand this is a losing run for me, and that's fine. I've been doing this for 10 years, right, Sorensen? Yes, but I'll still be here. I'll still be here advocating for issues, again, that are otherwise ignored by the government. I'm here to fight. I'm here to advocate. In my last run, I will say I was lucky enough to have a number of things brought forward to the Liberal platform. They stole from my platform right here in Battle River Crowfoot, like an inquiry on missing and murdered Indigenous women. They actually did that. Like the clean drinking water, they actually moved forward. Not that successful, but they did move forward on that. And the navigable waters protection, you know, we were able to reverse some of the lost protections there. So even though I lost, I still won. I still got things to the table, and I still got things successfully moved forward. So I'm looking forward to doing that again in this run. I'll be here to meet you all again. I'm not trying to sway you, I get it, but bring your issues to me and I'll bring them to the forefront. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Sarah.
So I also want to say thank you to everybody, and for everybody here. This has been absolutely amazing. This is my first time, so this has been really fun. I enjoyed this. But being independent, you know, I get it. It's scary. You make a choice for an independent. You are taking a risk. But I have shown up, and I can show that I can listen, and I can show that I can be here for you. You know, I have had people just berate me online, berate me at the door. That's fine. It's okay. I'm still going to sit here and show up for you guys. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen. And you guys, with an independent, you guys have a shot at deciding how Canada goes forward. You know, this riding could be the determining factor for what passes bills and what doesn't. This vote and your guys' leverage and your guys' voice is more important now than ever before. And that's something that somebody in a party is not going to be able to do for you. I am somebody who is here for you. I've said it before, you guys are my boss. Nobody else. There's no middleman here. And I want to fight for you guys. I can sit there, I can pull numbers, I can pull funding, I can show you guys on paper where the numbers are, what I can do for you guys. And I really hope that over these next 3 weeks that you guys can listen and we can engage, and I am more than happy to listen to you guys. And I just When it comes down to it, I really just want to help you guys because I have experienced that same hospitality from many people in this riding, and I would like to return that favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Darcy.
Thank you again to the organizers. Thank you, the fellow participants. It's been eye-opening for me. I'm a bit of a neophyte in politics. My name is Darcy Spady. I'm from Three Hills, and I do not want to be Prime Minister. I would actually really like to represent you in Ottawa on the government benches as a member of Parliament. I've had the privilege in my technical career of testifying before common subcommittees.
If you have any friends, relatives, family.
What happened there? Okay. The stream just cut out here for a moment. Sorry about that, guys. Try to get back to it.
Back, everybody. Thank you for returning. And I just want to send a shout out to all of those who are viewing on the live stream as well. Thank you for coming back after that break. And just for anyone who's not aware, the live stream will also be available for 48 hours. So if you have any friends, relatives, family, neighbors that you think would benefit from being able to see the forum.
It seems CTV News website is not a good source. Who would have known? All right, just give me 1 second here. Should only be about a minute behind. All right, we got Northern Perspective, we got Western Standard, we got Unacceptable Fringe. I don't really want to stream snipe any of those guys, so let's just see if this works.
So yes, I absolutely do believe we should move away from the first past the post system. It's been a part of the Green Party platform for decades now, I would say. For me personally, I've ran in a few elections. Everybody, like let's say everybody in this room, like if you're a representative of this riding, Damien got what, 80? Yeah, it's an amazing thing to get that many votes, but those 16% of you that didn't vote for him were ignored. You have no say for the next upwards of 4 years. So I believe we do need to reform the system so that people's votes actually matter. As for the type of system that I would implement, that would have to be studied, analyzed, look to see what the most fair and comprehensive system is so that everybody's vote can count as much as possible. We don't want to leave anybody out of the Democratic.
Well, guys, it looks like they were on closing statements anyways, so it's midnight on the East Coast where I'm at, and I do have to work in the morning, so I'm going to call this a wrap on the stream. But thank you, everybody who tuned in tonight. I think it's awesome that I had about 10 to 15 people that were concurrently and consistently watching, and for a small stream such as myself, I think that's pretty neat. Obviously, there are people who've been in the game longer than me, like Northern Perspective, Unacceptable Fringe, Elevate Podcast, all of those guys. Sorry to anybody I'm leaving out here. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. And if you're not subscribed, please do so. And you can check out some of my other content. And I plan on doing this far into the future to help you guys navigate the craziness that is what is going on in Canada right now in our political system. Yeah, so on closing, I think my favorite is probably, honestly, Michael of the Libertarian Party, Michael Harris, or Pierre Poilievre. Hold on, I've got some action in the chat here. Just 1 second. Red Lion Productive says, good stream, good night. Thanks for tuning in, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been really fun hanging out with you guys, and I'm sorry I cut out in the end there, and I'm sorry about the really shitty audio at the start. Yeah, this was a lot of fun to do, and I plan on doing more of these into the future. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Who do you think is going, well, who would you like to see win the riding of Battle River Crowfoot? Obviously, it's a different perspective for myself because, hold on, my volume's a little shitty here. It's a different perspective from myself because I live on the East Coast, like I said, and obviously I don't live in the riding, so I would like to see Pierre Poilievre take this one. I would like to see him return to the House of Commons and have some sort of meaningful opposition to Mark Carney's Liberals. But if I lived in Battle River Crowfoot, boy, I'd be tempted to vote for one of these guys instead, because I think, honestly, they're a lot better on the local issues that affect the region, and they're a lot better on some of the federal issues. They're a lot more bold than Pierre Poilievre when talking about, you know, the wokeness, DEI, and all that stuff. And they're saying a lot of and immigration. They're saying a lot of the things that Pierre Poilievre seems to be muzzled on, like the Michael Harris guy and even the guy from the Christian Heritage Party. He had some zingers tonight, but as somewhat of an agnostic myself, I never thought I'd be saying that about somebody of the Christian Heritage Party. Like, it's not my religion, but also it wasn't Christians that wanted to lock me in my house for 2 years and force me to take an experimental product. So there's that. But yeah, anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. If you wanted to catch the tail end of it, I'm sure it's available on one of the other streams. But yeah, thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. And as always, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.